The other day, I went to a nearby DIY store to buy a cooking pot. But I couldn't find the shape of the pot I wanted. So I showed the clerk a picture of the pot I was going to buy. But the clerk said, "Sorry, we do not carry the product." By the way, the pot I was going to buy looks like this. Cookie pot. The next day, I went to a beauty salon to have my hair cut. The clerk asked me, "What kind of hairstyle would you like?" So, I showed the clerk a picture of my ideal hairstyle. But the clerk said, "Sorry, I cannot do it in a short time." So I gave up. By the way, the hairstyle I wanted to try looks like this. In fact, these are pictures of the pot used in Japan on the day back about 13,000 years ago. And the hairstyle was so popular at the time. The name of the period is called Jomon period. But when you hear 13,000 years ago, don't you imagine that there were only people who were barbaric, primitive, and had no delicacy? That's not true. It is believed that people at that time were much more delicate than modern people. They made very delicate cooking pots and pursued hairstyles that modern hairstylists could not easily do. Why did people at the time make such delicate cooking pots? Why did people at the time have such complicated hairstyles? One of the main reasons for this is that they had much free time. In fact, in this period, people seem to have a lot of free time. But no reason. It seems that they had much more room in their minds than modern people. Moreover, there is even a theory that there was no war in this period. Few scars from the war have been identified from the remains left at the time of excavation. It is assumed that there was spirituality and values different from this modern society. People in the Jomon period, living mainly in hunting and gathering, would be respected for coexistence with nature and recognized each other's differences in abilities within villages. Unlike labor values that pursue economic feasibility in modern society, the game and harvest acquired through hunting and gathering are distributed evenly in the community to avoid competition for food. Moreover, it is assumed that there was no difference in status or class in the village from the size and layout of the houses. In those days, people wanted to create a peaceful society by eliminating possible causes of conflict. On the other hand, 13,000 years later, what about our time? Technology is evolving at an alarming rate, and yet everyone seems very busy. It seems that many people who do not have room in their minds, but not only that, there are many suicides in developed countries, and the number of people suffering from mental illness is increasing every year. So, I thought I should find some tips to solve problems involving modern people. That's where I started my research in the Jomon period. As a result, I realized that there was a lot to learn from the people at the time. By the way, let me ask you a question. What kind of apps are placed on your smartphone wallpaper? Can you imagine it specifically? Studies have shown that we touch our phone 3,000 times a day on average. If you have the same phone for 1 year, you would see the screen about 1 million times. But now, you proved something that people are not conscious of what they have. Let me tell you this story. Have you ever thought, I wish my appearance was more beautiful? About 40% of people in the world seem to think like this. Now, let me tell you about Japanese woman. Her name is Shizuka. She was born with a facial disability, and she was often bullied when she was a child. Since then, she was thinking like, I can't fall in love with someone or get married to someone. I can't fall in... I can't work in public. I can't have a bright future. One day, she had the courage to confess these feelings to one of her friends. Then, her friend cried and said angrily, "Why do you say that?" Hearing those serious loving words, she changed her mind and began to face her life. Now, she is married to a wonderful man, and she had a cute child. Next, let me tell you about another Japanese man. His name is Hirotara. He hasn't had any limbs since he was born. It's not hard to imagine how difficult life would have been. However, he was socially successful. He got married to a wonderful woman, and he has 3 children. Later, an affair with a woman was reported. But the report was a mistake. Not one woman, but 5 women at the same time. But now, his dates with young women are reported in the media. I talked about 2 Japanese people. At first glance, they may seem socially vulnerable. However, they are living very happy lives. they have something in common. They are looking at what they already have. They never look at what they don't have. You already have a lot of things. Why don't you look at it? And if you would be able to look at it, and if you can realize that you are already happy, be kind to people around you who haven't realized that their happiness yet. I would like to increase the number of people who can have peace of mind and get excited about the future as much as possible. In fact, until I 5 years ago, I kept working for more than 15 hours a day without a break. As a result, I lost my peace of mind and ended up going bankrupt. These kinds of experiences are not unique to me, but many Japanese people have had them. But not only that, many people in Indonesia must have gone through similar experiences as well. But not only that, people all over the world have gone through similar experiences as well. Comparing yourself to others and trying to overcome others have outdated in the current education system. That's why we need to redefine education now. Happiness is not something that others can decide for you. Happiness is something that you can decide for yourself. I'll need telephone. But the reality is that we cannot do this simple thing. To solve this problem, we need to have a room in the heart. Yes, this is exactly how people lived during the Jomon period. Future education should not teach everyone to run in the same direction, but instead, future education helps each person understand what happiness means to them and how they want to live their lives. It should teach each people to confront themselves and find their answers. Start by taking just 1 minute a day to think for yourself and ask yourself what happiness means to you and what you should do to achieve it. Your happiness isn't in the future. Your happiness is already here. I believe making people realize this is a new education. Do you know where I am? I'm the man from 8th floor. This. It was a way people lived in the Jomon period that saved me from being at a loss. By telling you about the way people lived and thought in the Jomon period, I want to increase as many people as possible who can feel happy and get excited about the future. Thank you so much.